Today's news highlights 20250718. Date July 18, 2025. Republic of China July 18, 114. Time cutoff point, 1500 hours on the same day. News highlights Emperor Guansheng's birthday is June 24 of the lunar calendar, July 18 in 2025, which is a symbol of the god of wealth and loyalty, and is suitable for military and police, public officials, candidates, businessmen, etc. Offerings should be prepared with longevity noodles, flowers, and seasonal fruits. Avoid tomatoes, guava, and custard, and candidates can prepare shallots and rice dumplings to ask for smart bags. Do not provide homophonic losing foods, such as pineapple cakes. You can wish for a birthday after 11 a.m. on the day of your birthday, report your name and wishes during worship, burn incense and pray for blessings, burn gold paper and thank the gods. Sincerity is important, and those who are not in an improper industry or seeking partial wealth should not worship. News highlights latest research shows that caffeine can activate AMPK in cells, activate cellular self-repair and anti-aging mechanisms, and indirectly inhibit TOR, allowing cells to enter a state of energy conservation and longevity. This mechanism is similar to the anti-aging drugs rapamycin and metformin, providing a scientific basis for coffee to promote longevity. In addition to coffee, intermittent fasting and exercise can also activate AMPK. However, the effect of coffee varies from person to person, and the intake should still be moderate, and those with special constitutions should consult a doctor. News highlights the Legislative Yuan passed the Kuomintang version of the special regulations, deleting the original plan to allocate 100 billion yuan to Taipower, and changing it to a general cash fund of 1 yuan, which required a debt of 101.4 billion yuan, causing Premier Zhou Rongta to question its legitimacy and financial ethics. He emphasized that most of the tax revenue in the past 4 years has been used to repay debts, and the actual available balance is only 4,436 billion yuan, criticizing the opposition party for not calculating data and misleading the public. Zhou called on the Legislative Yuan to arrange a budget explanation during the adjournment of the session to give the government the opportunity to strive for adjustment plans, and reiterated that it will continue to support Taipower to improve its physical health and safety. News highlights as Falun Gong has been persecuted by the CCP for nearly 26 years, the U.S. State Department calls on Beijing to immediately stop the crackdown. Since 1999, thousands of Falun Gong practitioners have been tortured and persecuted to death, and have been found to be the main targets of live organ harvesting by the CCP. The U.S. Congress has passed a number of bills to counter the CCP's human rights abuses and expose the CCP's extended transnational repression into the United States. Many U.S. lawmakers emphasized that human rights should be included in the core of China policy, counter CCP atrocities through legislative and trade pressure, and defend universal values and national security. News highlights in Arcadia, Southern California, a human trafficking case broke out that shocked the United States, and pro-communist Chinese leaders Xian Qiujun and Zhang Saiwei were suspected of using surrogacy companies to sell at least 21 American babies to China for profit, which has been designated as a national security threat by the FBI. The case came to light after a baby was seriously injured and police found multiple babies in his mansion. Xian is a member of a number of pro-communist overseas Chinese groups and has close ties with the CCP consulate. A number of surrogate mothers have come forward to complain of being deceived and are fighting for custody. The entire case is still under in-depth investigation, raising concerns about cross-border human rights and national security between the United States and China. News highlights 20 years ago, Huang Wenchao and Xia Yani transformed the abandoned wood factory into a Li Manor art museum that integrates art and nature in Mieli Sanyi, and after 20 years of construction, it has become a private art and cultural space that has been passed down by word of mouth in Taiwan's business community. The manor uses more than 80% recycled building materials, insisting on slow work and meticulous work, demonstrating the spirit of sustainable aesthetics. In recent years, it has opened appointments for visits and launched the Echo Project to promote art and culture in cooperation with performance groups. Oak Manor is not only an art museum, but also a sustainable experiment that combines ecology, art, and life. News highlights Oracle founder Allison became the world's second richest man for the first time due to the AI boom driving stock prices to soar, with assets of $2,512 billion, second only to Musk. Oracle's stock price has nearly tripled since the advent of ChatGPT, soaring more than 90% in the past 3 months. The United States relaxed its export assistance for AI chips, and recently rose another 5.7%. More than 80% of Allison's wealth comes from Oracle's shareholdings. Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang was also promoted to 9th place due to the sharp rise in stock prices, surpassing Buffett. The world's richest man is still held by Tesla CEO Elon Musk, with assets of $3,578 billion. News highlights a doctoral student at National Taiwan University was sued by the Central News Agency for infringement by sharing a traditional Chinese dataset compiled from an open-source platform, triggering AI training and copyright disputes. Although the two parties settled on July 11, the incident highlights that open source does not equal exemption, and even if the data comes from Hugging Face, content authorization must still be confirmed. Experts call for a clear authorization mechanism to balance technology development with content protection. The Ministry of Digital Development will promote the Taiwan Sovereign AI Corpus to encourage open data sharing. The press advocates for government funding and authorization, establishing a fair profit-sharing mechanism, and achieving CO prosperity between AI and the content industry. News highlights it is rumored in the market that ARM, a major silicon intellectual property manufacturer, plans to step into the field of self-made AI and special application chips, ASICs, which has attracted attention. If the rumors are true, ARM will compete directly with existing customers such as Intel, Nvidia, Qualcomm, MediaTek, etc., turning from a partner to an opponent. Foreign investors are optimistic about its transformation potential, estimating future ASIC business revenue of $150 billion, and raising the stock price target from $110 to $210. Although ARM did not respond to this matter, the market generally expects it to expand its AI semiconductor layout and grasp more value chain leadership. News highlights foreign media analyzed that this move was mainly to divert media focus, face legal and political resistance, and avoid soaring interest rates and economic damage caused by Powell's firing. Bauer insisted on not resigning, and the law stipulates that there must be a valid reason to be removed, and if Trump forcibly fires him, it may cause political turmoil and damage his reputation. In addition, Powell is still the scapegoat for Trump's economic policy failures, and his dismissal may cause U.S. interest rates to rise, affecting economic growth, which is not good for Trump. News highlights next year, it is expected that there will be 6 labor insurance annuity claim years in 2011, 2012, 2016, 2017, 2018, and 2022 due to an increase of more than 5% in the price index, CPI, and the number of beneficiaries will be about 78.4. According to the labor insurance regulations, when the cumulative growth rate of CPI reaches 5%, the amount of annuity benefits will be adjusted. This year's CPI is expected to increase by about 6%, which meets the adjustment threshold. There are also 9 years that have not yet met the target, and if prices continue to rise next year, the annuity may also be adjusted the year after that. News highlights in response to the huge demand for computing power, OpenAI has not only continued to use Microsoft Azure, but also included Google Cloud in the list of suppliers to support ChatGPT and API computing. This move has led to an increase in demand for AI servers, and server foundries such as Quanta and Inventec have benefited from performance growth. OpenAI's cooperation with Google was facilitated by Microsoft's exclusive agreement adjustments, and it also signed huge cloud contracts with CoreWeave and Oracle. As AI models expand, OpenAI's demand for computing resources continues to rise, and Google's large order will help it expand its market share in the cloud market. News highlights internet celebrity FBI handsome guy Deng Jiahua claimed that he had been dating model Jian for more than 2 months before being imprisoned for a candid photography case, saying that they had a good heart, but Jian recently denied the relationship and clarified that the two parties were just friends. She said that her interactions with Deng were voluntary and there was no use of the relationship, and emphasized that her family did not approve of the relationship between the two, hoping to only maintain a friendship in the future, and wished Deng Jiahua all the best after being released from prison. News highlights affected by the central bank's credit control and economic shocks, the housing market has seen a sharp decline in buying sentiment, and the transaction volume of pre-sale houses has plummeted by nearly 70% since the first half of last year. However, even though transaction volume has shrunk, housing prices have generally remained at high points, with only Hsinchu and Taipei slightly revised downward. Recently, builders such as Jias Hanlin and Beijia have reported profit concession promotions, but in reality, most of them are adjusting the excessively high asking price back to the market price, which is a marketing strategy that is not a comprehensive price reduction. The industry pointed out that the profits of builders are still high, and giving away home appliances or refunding to appease existing buyers is a case-by-case process, and the overall market shows a pattern of price stability and volume contraction, and there is no sign of a sharp decline in housing prices. News highlights National Taiwan Normal University women's football coach Zhou Taiying was accused of forcing players to cooperate with blood draw research, and forcing them to deduct credits and drop out of school, causing controversy. The Ministry of Education's investigation determined that she violated the Human Research Act and bullying, and recommended dismissal, but the school only dismissed her but did not dismiss her teaching position, which caused criticism. Some players broke the news that they had been stitched 10 times, and the subsidy was also recovered. The incident shocked the society, but few coaches in the competitive circle spoke out. According to the analysis of the chairman of the Taiwan Football Development Association, it may be because similar behaviors are widespread in the circle, or relevant people are worried that they are also involved, which has aroused concern and reflection from the outside world. News highlights internet celebrity Pineapple, Wu Hong'ai, was followed by unknown people in Chi on the evening of the 15th and fired 12 shots at his vehicle, but fortunately no one was injured, and the police have targeted specific targets for investigation. According to reports, The incident is suspected to be related to the former brothers' turnover over an interest dispute of 300 yuan, and it is even rumored that there may be a counterattack in the future. Pineapple denied the rumors and angrily reprimanded the media for reporting indiscriminately. This case is suspected to involve money and interpersonal grievances, which has aroused social concern. News highlights: mild typhoon Vipa was formed at 2 o'clock this morning, with its center located at 16.8 degrees north latitude and 125.0 degrees east longitude, moving northwest at a speed of 15 km per hour, and is expected to pass through the Bashi Strait and approach Taiwan today and tomorrow. The Meteorological Administration is expected to issue a maritime typhoon warning at 11:30. Affected by its outer circulation, there will be local rain in the eastern half from this afternoon. The western half will turn rainy over the weekend, and there may be a lot of rainfall in the east and Pingtung, and weather changes next week still need to be closely observed. News highlights: a 21-year-old black household youth in Taichung was found at a recycling yard in May this year, and with the assistance of the city government, he was confirmed to be the son of a man surnamed Huang. The young mother is an Indonesian migrant worker who left after giving birth, resulting in her not registering her household registration or going to school for many years. In addition to assisting in resettlement, the city government is also planning supplementary teaching and vocational training resources to help them move towards a normal life. News highlights: when Taiwanese netizen Yanner was traveling in Malaysia, she was blackmailed and suspected of attempted sexual harassment when the local police accidentally touched the video recording function during a temporary inspection. The police asked for money, contact information, and even offered an invitation to the bar, threatening to send it to the police if they did not cooperate. Yanner finally paid Rm300 before being released, and later reported the case to the Malaysian office. The local police have confirmed the police involved and launched an investigation, and she hopes to use this experience to remind travelers to be vigilant. News highlights: on the last day of the Hangong 41 exercise, the Army and the Ministry of Defense simultaneously conducted the Backup Command and Control Mechanism Transfer exercise to simulate the command center being quickly transferred to the backup point after being attacked to ensure that the operation is not interrupted. Army Commander Lu Kungziu emphasized the implementation of decentralized command and response preparation to improve wartime response capabilities. Lieutenant General Liu Shenmo of the Ministry of Defense of Malaysia also personally went to the scene to verify the communication and command transfer, emphasizing flexible deployment and the establishment of multiple backup systems to cope with rapidly changing battlefield challenges. News highlights: Coldplay recently started singing in Boston, but it unexpectedly became the scene of the death of the tech circle. Andy, CEO of the startup Astronomer, and Christine, the director of human resources, were photographed interacting intimately at the concert, and both were married, and the news was exposed, causing heated discussions. Andy is married and has 2 sons, and Christine also has a husband. Embarrassingly, Alessa, the vice president of the company sitting next to her, was suspected of knowing about it earlier. The incident spread rapidly, and the social media accounts of both partners have been closed or deleted, triggering disputes between companies and private morality. News highlights: this year's No.X Typhoon Vipa was formed this morning, and meteorological experts pointed out that it will be closest to Taiwan from this afternoon to the first half of Sunday. Yuhua East and Hengchun Peninsula must strictly guard against heavy rain and rainfall in mountainous areas, with less wind damage but obvious rain damage. Experts described Vipa as a very wet typhoon, and the rainfall may be very amazing. The Meteorological Bureau predicts that the eastern half will face the peak of rainfall, while the western half will have limited impact due to the small interference of the central mountain barrier. It remains to be seen whether the Coast Guard will be issued, and the public is advised to take precautions in advance. News highlights: 7-Eleven, Family Mart and Xuanlian are the 3 giants of Taiwan's circulation industry, but they have all experienced losses and transformations before their success. 7-Eleven lost money for 7 years in the early stages of operation, and turned losses into profits thanks to Su Kongren's 24-hour business and personal convenience route. Family Mart stood on the shoulders of the pioneers, achieving profits in 1994 and ranking second through mergers and acquisitions. After Xuanlian was taken over by Lin Mingxiang, it relied on low-price strategies and expansion layout to overturn its disadvantages, and eventually became Taiwan's largest supermarket. All 3 have established their current status through persistence and transformation. News highlights: Typhoon Vipa No. 6 was formed at 2 a.m. this morning, and the Meteorological Administration issued a maritime typhoon warning at 11:30 a.m. Vipa is currently located about 560 km southeast of Luanbi, moving west-northwest at a speed of 15 km per hour, and is expected to be closest to Taiwan from tonight to tomorrow. The Meteorological Administration pointed out that the typhoon's peripheral circulation will bring heavy rain or more to the eastern half and the Hengchun area, and it is necessary to strictly guard against heavy rainfall and landslides. News highlights: a 66-year-old man surnamed Zhang has experienced symptoms such as weight loss, poor appetite, and jaundice in the past 6 months, and was diagnosed with terminal bile duct cancer after seeking medical treatment. Doctors point out that cholangiocarcinoma is almost asymptomatic in the early stages, and treatment opportunities are often missed. High-risk groups should avoid raw food, quit smoking and alcohol, control liver disease, and regularly check liver and gallbladder function to facilitate early detection and timely treatment. News highlights: recently, internet celebrity Hannah was listed as a warning account after receiving money because she paid for a friend's meal, and it turned out that the other party's account had been involved in suspicious financial flow. The so-called warning account is an account that has been notified by the judicial unit to be restricted from using due to involvement in fraud or money laundering cases, which will lead to significant impacts such as freezing of funds, inability to borrow, and delivery of stocks. The public should avoid providing accounts to others to collect money or advance cash flows to prevent accidental traps. If you accidentally become a warning account, you must take the initiative to contact the police and cooperate with the investigation, and provide supporting documents to apply for cancellation. News highlights: brother Dragonfly, Song Yazang, who has disappeared from the fluorescent screen for 12 years, recently appeared at the children's art competition and admitted that although he is no longer Brother Yo-Yo, he continues to work as a host, drama and program production, and has transformed into a company founder. He revealed that he and Happy's brother Zhang Shanwei have lost contact since the other party fell ill, and Zhang did not want to see people with his illness and only contacted him through his agent. There is still a connection with sister Butterfly Kyle, who is now focusing on her family and has no plans to return to the entertainment industry, and the other brothers and sisters are also busy and difficult to get together. News highlights: diva Jolin Tsai participated in the singing competition in 1998 and debuted, became popular in 1999 with the album 1019, and then fell silent for 2 years due to contract disputes, and returned to the music scene with Look at Me 72 Changes. A few days ago, an alumnus of Fu University shared a photo with her at school more than 20 years ago, which set off a heated discussion, and many people lamented that they look like Cai's mother. When she was still a student, she worked hard to balance her studies and acting career, and her sweet and shy appearance evoked memories from fans. News highlights: diabetes is not only an increase in blood sugar, but can also cause symptoms such as thirst, blurred vision, difficult wound healing, and numbness in the hands and feet, but they are often overlooked. Family medicine physician Chen Junlin reminded that diabetes is caused by abnormal energy regulation in the body, where insulin in the pancreas cannot be secreted or function normally, resulting in blood sugar loss of control. If not detected and treated early, diabetes can lead to serious complications such as amputation, myocardial infarction, dialysis, and vision problems. Regular blood sugar checks, early signs, and improved dietary habits are key to preventing and controlling diabetes. News highlights: nutritionist Fang Fang shared the fat loss experience of a 165 cm working mother, who dropped from 75 kg to 64 kg, and the key is to adjust breakfast habits. Switch to apples or bananas and fried eggs and latte coffee and a small amount of walnuts to improve satiety and metabolism, and avoid overeating at lunch. Balanced intake of dietary fiber and high-quality protein in 3 meals, combined with daily walks, housework, and stretching, can help burn fat. Fang Fang emphasizes that fat loss is a long-term lifestyle adjustment, and recommends a diverse diet and follow the body's rhythm to avoid intense dieting. News highlights: Korean star G-Dragon recently held a concert at the Taipei Arena, attracting many artists and fans to make a pilgrimage. Actress Makiyo watched 2 shows in a row and shared videos of entering and exiting the box and group photos on social platforms, but was criticized by netizens for rubbing the heat. In response, Makiyo posted a counterattack late at night, questioning when the word rubbing became a trendy slogan, emphasizing that it is understandable to share her experience of watching the performance, and called on netizens to be open-minded and not to over-interpret her behavior. News highlights: the hosts of Variety New Era Yang, Basket, and Yang Xiaohui took Li Yura to Kaohsiung Sijin to experience surfing, and there were constant jokes on the scene. Yang was proud to have been to Spain and was complained by Basket that not good skating, not even a dog. After everyone learned that they could drink freely in a bikini, 60-year-old Yang Xiaohui shouted that she wanted to drink all she could but didn't bring any equipment. When changing clothes, Yang Xiaohui thought the clothes were too small, and Basket laughed at her for not being used to wearing tight clothes. News highlights: internet celebrity Pineapple, Wu Hong'ai, was shot 12 times by a knight when he was carrying his wife through Chi City on the evening of the 15th, but fortunately there were no casualties. Afterwards, he posted a message to report that he was safe and angrily criticized the other party's behavior for crossing the line. The rumored incident is related to a 300 yuan money dispute, which is suspected to have escalated due to a break with his former brother. In response, Pineapple only responded "Don't report" randomly and did not explain much. The police have identified the suspect and are continuing to pursue and clarify the case. News highlights: the National Taiwan Normal University women's football team broke out the controversy over blood draw for credits, which aroused social concern. Actress Tang Ling, who has suffered from cancer for many years, was shocked after seeing the relevant video and said that in the past, she had collapsed in pain due to frequent blood draws during chemotherapy, and she felt that the student's experience was unacceptable. She criticized the forced blood draw experiment as a violation of human rights, and called on the society to face up to this matter and respect everyone's physical boundaries, scientific progress should not be based on blood and tears. News highlights internet celebrity FBI handsome guy Deng Jiahua was imprisoned on the 10th for secretly photographing the female designer's skirt and unable to pay the fine, and was imprisoned for 6 months. His girlfriend Jian said on the 17th that due to her family's opposition and Deng's controversy, she had no choice but to break up. She clarified that the relationship was voluntary, not the heat as speculated by the outside world. Regarding the former suitor's dissemination of conversations and images, she emphasized that she would file a lawsuit in accordance with the law to protect her own rights and interests, and called for respect for personal privacy and personality. News highlights millions of YouTuber Adi recently admitted that he suffered from depression, tried to commit suicide twice, and even wrote a suicide note to say goodbye to his family. He recalled standing on the edge of the top floor and finally chose to go back to his room to sleep. Now that he has survived the low tide, ADI calls on everyone to have hope and firmly believe that if you survive today until tomorrow, you will win. News highlights according to the Soha Fortune column, although the zodiac ox, snake, and rabbit have low-key personalities and do not like to be the focus, they show amazing potential in their careers and finances because of their stability and down-to-earthness, keen observation, and perseverance. Ox people are diligent and hardworking, silently accumulating. Snakes are delicate and calm, good at judgment. Rabbits are gentle and humble, and are good at seizing opportunities. All three can steadily move towards success in a prosperous life. News highlights Taichung City is about to hold a recall vote, and propaganda vehicles on the streets are accused of using totems similar to the Kuomintang party emblem, causing controversy. The Kuomintang Municipal Party Department questioned the confusion of the pattern and has filed a complaint with the District Prosecutor's Office for forging documents and violating the election and recall law. However, Du Chensh, spokesman for the Fourth Strike Group, clarified that the pattern is the national emblem of the Republic of China, not the party emblem, and satirizes that the Kuomintang has forgotten its roots. The two sides have different identities, and the dispute may go to court, and the similarity between the national emblem and the party emblem has once again sparked discussion. News highlights faced with the imminent recall vote, Zhao Xiaokong, the initiator of the Kuomintang's Combat Blue, reported that he was originally scheduled to travel abroad to East Africa on July 26, causing public outcry and worrying about affecting the Blue Army's voting mobilization. Zhao held a press conference today, 18th, in response, emphasizing that the itinerary was booked as early as last year and was not deliberately avoided, and admitted that he misjudged the voting date. However, he finally changed his words and said, "I will stay in Taiwan to vote on 7/26, and laughed at himself for having a video meeting with East African animals to resolve the controversy with humor. News highlights Huang Qiuakang, chairman of the People's Party of the Legislative Yuan, is often known for ranting and criticizing officials when questioning, but some netizens analyzed his skills and pointed out that by magnifying details and setting trap-like questions, even if he does not understand the profession, he can put the other party in trouble. For example, questioning how many grams of salt the chef put in the details of the engineer's code to question the other party's professionalism. Some neutral netizens laughed that Huang Qiuakang only used debate techniques to take things out of context and amplify details, and the effect was as funny as elementary school examiner positions, which sparked discussion. News highlights with the countdown to the recall in Taiwan, the Kuomintang accused the DPP of declaring martial law before the vote, causing controversy. Ling Tao, deputy CEO of the Kuomintang think tank, compared the case of South Korea and questioned Li Qing's Olympic move. Former President Chen Shui-bian criticized this as a smear and fake issue for the old tactics of the Blue Camp, emphasizing that martial law must be passed by the National Assembly, and the DPP is currently in power and does not have the ability to do so. He recalled that in 2008, the Kuomintang also smeared himself for refusing to take over power, and pointed out that the Blue Camp repeatedly used intimidation rumors to manipulate the election, and netizens criticized the Blue Camp for not changing its stance and questioned that it used the same method to intimidate voters. News highlights National Taiwan Normal University women's football coach Zhou Taiying was exposed for threatening students to participate in human research with graduation credits, causing many students to take a leave of absence and withdraw from the team. The Taipei District Prosecutor's Office has opened a case for investigation to investigate details such as blood draw contracts and investigation reports. Hu Chuanan, an assistant professor at National Central University, accused Zhou and his doctoral thesis supervisor of a 2023 paper involving a blood draw study without sufficient consent, criticizing the act as a world-class scandal and questioning the lack of ethical review in the relevant research. News highlights a Google search summary error showed that he died of colorectal cancer in 2022 at the age of 39, which was actually his daughter Yu Yuankai who died of cancer 2 years ago, and AI mistakenly confused the information. This fake news caused panic on the internet, with fans clarifying and calling for enhanced AI information moderation. People familiar with the matter said that Yu Tian's current situation is good, his life is normal, and his spirit is stable, and this incident highlights that AI technology still needs to be improved to avoid similar misunderstandings. News highlights the civic group protecting the country will rally outside the Legislative Yuan at 6 p.m. on July 19, and the Zhongzheng No. 1 branch will implement traffic control from the early morning of the same day, covering Qingdao East Road, Jinan Road, and other sections, and is expected to end at 4 a.m. on the 20th. During the event, buses on relevant routes will be diverted, and the police will expand the control scope according to the crowd at the scene and provide real-time traffic conditions through broadcasting. The public is urged to plan their itinerary in advance, avoid controlled areas, abide by traffic control instructions, and ensure safe and smooth traffic. News highlights: the Legislative Yuan passed the Kuomintang version of the Special Budget Ordinance, adding 2,350 billion yuan for the universal distribution of 10,000 yuan to the whole people, but the Executive Yuan has not yet decided whether to distribute it and has not received the bill. Wu Saiyao, Secretary General of the DPP Legislative Yuan Caucus, emphasized that the Executive Yuan is still deliberating and criticizing the Legislative Yuan for repeatedly violating the law and unconstitutional. She pointed out that the issuance of 10,000 yuan will require a debt of 1,014 billion yuan, which may burden the next generation, and called on the ruling party to consider it carefully. News highlights: 8 members of an Aboriginal family surnamed Zhang in Hualien were accused of pretending to be mentally ill and being hospitalized in medical institutions in many places for a long time, and were suspected of fraudulently claiming insurance claims totaling more than 55 million yuan and 938 health insurance benefits from 8 companies including Taiwan Life Insurance. The Taipei District Court acquitted the 7 people in 2023, and after the prosecution appealed, the Taiwan High Court today upheld the acquittal of 7 people. The court held that the defendant was diagnosed by a doctor as having a need for hospitalization, lacked evidence to prove that the medical team had been deceived, and the relevant medical record appraisal hospital refused, making it difficult to determine that the defendant had committed fraud, so the prosecution's appeal was rejected and the case was closed. News highlights: domestic 8 o'clock actress Zhang Zuping accused the director of the Sanli drama Wish of negligence, causing her to be splashed with a whole bowl of hot soup on her hands and body during filming, causing burns but not immediately calling for first aid, so she endured the pain and continued to perform, and even had to take painkillers to complete the scene, without any apology or reasonable explanation afterwards. Zhang Zuping angrily said that the crew omitted the original agreement to use a less hot soup, and in order to avoid burning her husband Huang Shaokai, he was burned and cried on the spot. Sanli responded by admitting that there were mistakes in the filming process, and has expressed apologies and will review and improve, emphasizing that Zhang Zuping is dedicated and has not stopped work due to accidents. News highlights: Xi Mingjun, chairman of the Taiwan Football Development Association, said that similar situations are common in the competitive circle, and many coaches and professors have also managed players in this way, causing relevant personnel to dare not discuss publicly, but criticize the whistleblower. Netizens criticized the traditional authoritative culture in the sports circle for being deeply rooted, with students being forced to accept unreasonable demands and even facing pressure such as withdrawing from the team, calling for comprehensive reform of the physical education system, strengthening ethical supervision, and avoiding the recurrence of similar incidents. News highlights: a netizen shared that 10 years ago, the Eastern private B&B cost only 500 to 900 yuan per person, but now the price has doubled, even close to 2,000 yuan without corresponding quality improvement, making him prefer to spend money to travel abroad. He criticized that although the Eastern scenic spots are beautiful, the traffic chaos in the Western cultural scenic spots is serious, affecting tourism interest. Netizens also believe that the price of international travel is too high and the service quality is low, and the success or failure of accommodation and environmental problems have caused the loss of attractiveness of international travel. News highlights: Michaela Raines, a 29-year-old well-known YouTuber and animal rescuer in the United States, recently committed suicide due to long-term psychological stress and cyberbullying, and the news was announced by her husband Ethan on his channel Save a Fox, shocking fans around the world. Michaela founded a non-profit organization in 2017 to save foxes and share rescue life through YouTube, with more than 249 subscribers. The husband revealed that he had performed 15 minutes of CPR on her but still could not be recovered, and sadly said that her kindness was maliciously destroyed by the internet, mourning her selfless love for animals in her early death. News highlights: a man surnamed Dai in Kaohsiung underwent artificial penile implant surgery due to erectile dysfunction, spending 23 yuan, and after the operation, he found that the erection length had shortened from 18 cm to 12.5 cm, and the length without erection had also shrunk, so he angrily claimed 535,000 yuan. The clinic said that there was no negligence during the operation and no displacement of the implant. The judge held that the length of the male genitalia would change due to temperature, time, and excitement, and that the photos provided by Dainan could not prove ownership, and that the length of multiple hospital measurements showed that the length was stable. News highlights: the Legislative Yuan passed the Kuomintang's proposal to delete the allocation of 100 billion yuan for Taipower and change it to a universal cash fund of 1 yuan. He pointed out that from 110 to 113, the government overcharged taxes by 1.8 trillion yuan, but most of it has been used for debt repayment and special funds. Zhou Rongta called for a careful assessment, criticized the opposition party for illegally and unconstitutionally increasing spending, undermining fiscal consensus, and called for a rational view of the country's financial situation. News highlights: Zhao Xiaokong, the initiator of the Kuomintang Combat Blue, was originally scheduled to watch the Great Animal Migration in East Africa on July 26, but due to the advance of the recall voting date, he announced today, 18th, that he would cancel the trip and stay in Taiwan to support Kuomintang legislator Luo's Haiqiang, calling on the Blue Camp and the anti-evil strikers to vote against the recall on July 26. Zhao Xiaokong said that he has no public office and that not being able to go abroad is a private matter, criticizing the Green media and flanks for misreporting that he evacuated abroad on voting day as fake news, emphasizing that he will abide by his voting obligations, and lamenting that politics needs to be humane and kind. News highlights: recently, 11 supermarkets in Hsinchu County have closed one after another, most of which are located on remote farmland, causing inconvenience to residents. After investigation, most of these supermarkets were illegally built and set up on farmland, violating land use regulations. Since last year, the County Land Administration Office has strictly investigated and punished 65 violations, 39 of which have been punished, of which 22 are multiple violations and have been transferred to the District Prosecutor's Office for investigation. After strengthening law enforcement, 8 houses have closed their own businesses, 3 demolished buildings, and 1 closed due to water and power outages. Operators and landlords reported that they were not familiar with the law and hoped to reduce the penalty. The Land Administration Office stated that it would evaluate the reasonableness and discuss counseling plans to assist. News highlights: Taiwan's medical care continues to collapse, and surgical scheduling is seriously affected. Taichung obstetrician and gynecologist Xie Xiaoyun revealed that some patients scheduled surgery 2 months in advance, but due to insufficient nursing manpower, they were hospitalized for a whole day of fasting before surgery and could not be operated on the surgery, so they had to reschedule. A similar situation occurred 3 months ago, when the operation was postponed to cancelled, and the nursing staff were stressed and faced a sense of uncertainty. Dr. Xie lamented that patients were considerate but full of guilt, and called on the society to face up to the problem of medical collapse and provide better care and support to patients and medical staff. News highlights: Diva Jolin Tsai attaches great importance to financial management and relies on 3 tricks to make money roll. First of all, she chose to save steadily and develop the habit of saving money regularly, even if the interest rate is not high, but it is down to earth and has a sense of accomplishment. Secondly, when investing, she will collect information from various sources, evaluate carefully, not be blindly impulsive, and encourage to relax and remain optimistic in the face of losses. Finally, she reminded them to think more before shopping and avoid wasting money impulsively. Jolin Tsai believes that knowing how to keep money is more important than making money, and only by having financial management can you be truly willful, otherwise no matter how much money you have, it will not last long. News highlights: on July 22, the summer solar term ushered in the most yang energy and the highest temperature of the year. Numerologist Yunwei analyzed that Aquarius, Gemini, and Cancer have the most financial luck. Aquarius has strong financial luck and keen intuition, making it suitable for investment and creative cooperation, and easy to obtain additional income. Gemini has good financial luck, outstanding work performance, increased income and rewards, suitable for negotiating contracts and promoting cooperation. Cancer is prosperous in terms of wealth, long-term efforts to get a salary increase and promotion, and there are windfalls in side hustles and investments. All 3 zodiac signs recommend seizing opportunities to meet the peak of financial luck. News highlights: TSMC's gross profit margin in the second quarter reached 58.6%, earning 15.36 yuan per share, and the stock price continued to rise, encouraging the bullish momentum of the robot community. Chairman Wei Zhijia is optimistic about the future potential of the humanoid robot market, estimating that the scale will be 10 times that of electric vehicles, driving the strong performance of many stock prices such as Zhenghui, Kunying, and Hechun. Zhenghui's revenue increased by 82.89% in June, and its revenue in the first half of the year increased by nearly 5% year-on-year, actively deploying AI robots and green energy computing centers, and is expected to ship 120 robot dogs per month from 2026 to 2027. Hechun benefited from automation demand, with revenue increasing by more than 70% year-on-year, and regarded intelligent robots as the main force of future growth, continuing to grow steadily. News highlights: U.S. President Donald Trump plans to sign an executive order allowing the $9 trillion pension market to invest in cryptocurrencies, gold and private equity, expanding the investment scope of 401(k) pension plans and breaking the current focus on stocks and bonds. This move will push alternative assets into the mainstream and instruct regulators to address the obstacles associated with professional managers to manage these new types of funds. The Trump administration has relaxed relevant regulations and supported the development of the crypto industry, and the relevant bill was recently passed, indicating its intention to strengthen crypto asset investment. In addition, this policy is also beneficial to private equity giants such as Blackstone, Apollo, and BlackRock, which will become important fund managers for retired investors in the future. News highlights: TSMC's gross profit margin in the second quarter reached 58.6%, earning 15.36 yuan per share, and the stock price continued to hit new highs, driving the bullish atmosphere in Taiwan stocks. Chairman Wei Zhijia is optimistic about the market prospects of humanoid robots, expecting the scale to be 10 times that of electric vehicles, which will encourage the stock prices of related robot groups to rise strongly. Zhenghui's revenue increased by more than 80% in June, and it has deployed an AI green energy computing center in Robot Dog, and is expected to ship 120 units per month from 2026 to 2027. Hechun benefited from automation demand, saw significant revenue growth, actively developed intelligent robots, and continued to expand steadily. News highlights: the Hangong exercise was the longest in history, lasting 10 days and 9 nights, mobilizing more than 2.2 reservists, and the degree of actual combat was highly affirmed by defense scholars. The exercise focuses on 3 key points: responding to China's gray zone behavior, in-depth defense operations and protracted operations, each with the most exercise time. During the exercise, the reserve soldiers performed professionally, the defense in-depth adopted progressive attrition tactics, and the Wanban Bridge set up blocking positions to improve actual combat simulations, demonstrating the strengthening and preparation of the National Army for the revised defense operations of Taiwan and Peng. News highlights: the U.S. court recently ruled on 2 AI training data copyright cases against Anthropic and Meta, both supporting AI companies with fair use, but emphasizing that the original work must be legally obtained and must not infringe on the original market. Anthropic was criticized by a judge for illegally sourcing some of its works, while Meta dismissed the lawsuit due to insufficient evidence. The U.S. Copyright Office pointed out that determining fair use requires considering 4 factors: conversionability, nature of the original work, proportion of use, and market impact. Global AI copyright disputes extend to books, images, music, and news, and legal technology startups in Taiwan have recently been sentenced for infringement. Fair use determination is still a challenge, and how to balance innovation and rights is a key issue in the future. News highlights: TSMC's revenue in the second quarter reached 933.8 billion yuan, and the net profit after tax was nearly 3,983 billion yuan, a record high in a single quarter, with a net profit per share of 15.36 yuan and a gross profit margin of 58.6%. After the stock price opened higher on the 18th, it once rushed to 1,160 yuan, tying the historical high, and the market value exceeded 30 trillion yuan, driving the market index up more than 165 points. Looking forward to the third quarter, TSMC expects revenue to continue to reach new highs, with gross profit margins ranging from 55.5% to 57.5%. Foreign investors are optimistic about TSMC's growth and have raised their target prices, reaching a maximum of 1,320 yuan, and the market expects the stock price to continue to rise. News highlights: former U.S. President Trump was recently photographed with swollen legs and bruises on the back of his hands, which attracted attention from the outside world. White House spokesman Lee Wood said that Trump underwent a comprehensive medical examination and was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, a common and benign disease over the age of 70, with no blood clots or heart problems. Hand bruises are caused by frequent handshakes and aspirin, which are common side effects. The White House emphasized that Trump is in good health and fit to perform his duties, and made public the doctor's explanation to clarify external concerns. News highlights: Typhoon Dinas hit Tainan hard, more than 10,000 households had their roofs damaged, and more than 4,000 households have been temporarily protected by canvas, but about 6,000 households still need to be repaired. Kiguziliao was severely affected, 2/3 of the roof was blown off by the wind, there was a shortage of workers and the construction risk was high, and some workers fell and injured their heads during repairs with 12 stitches. Victims are worried that the upcoming Typhoon Vipa may cause a second disaster, and many people use large plastic bags to cover furniture for waterproofing, hoping to get repair assistance as soon as possible to tide over the difficulties. News highlights: TSMC opened higher this morning, reaching a high of 1,160 yuan, driving the Taiwan stock index to rise sharply, reaching 23,390 points during the session, up more than 277 points. Funds rotated to robot and AI concept stocks, with robot stocks such as Hechun, Cunning, and Zhenghui rising strongly, and AI-related stocks such as Shenmao, Wyvan, and Taiwan Optoelectronics also rose sharply. Rongcheng announced the asset revitalization plan of the Nankin plant, and the stock price once rose to the limit. Analysts pointed out that TSMC is bullish to stimulate the market, but the U.S. tariff policy towards Taiwan is not yet clear, and the short-term price pursuit willingness is conservative, and the market atmosphere is still mainly wait and see. News highlights: National Taiwan Normal University women's football coach Zhou Taiying was accused of forcing students to participate in blood draw research by deducting credits, and the funds were suspected of being diverted to the team's public fund, causing controversy. The Beijing prosecutor's office has launched an investigation, seized blood samples and related plan information, and listed Zhou as a defendant to investigate the crimes of coercion and embezzlement. There are many suspicions about the incident, including that the blood draw behavior began earlier than the 2023 research project, and other relevant units denied that there were blood drawing items, and the use of blood was unknown. The victim student emphasized that he did not agree, and the lawyer pointed out that it may involve violations of the Human Research Act and the Personal Information Act, and the prosecution and investigation will continue to clarify the truth. News highlights: the 2025 Urban Resilience Exercise ended in the north yesterday, 17th, but the internet celebrity store cat French fries raised by the traditional Chinese medicine store on Daihua Street was scared away by the sound of the alarm. The fries are covered in grey hair and round figures, with a cute appearance, and are deeply loved by the public. Netizens enthusiastically forwarded and provided cat-finding skills, suggesting that from 11 p.m. to 5 a.m., bring cans, knock on cans to call softly, and place food and cat litter at the door of the house to help identify the smell. Remind owners to carefully search for nearby crevices, under the car and all over the building, and hope that the fries will return home safely as soon as possible. News highlights: Chen Aileen was recently revealed to have laid off pregnant employees, causing controversy. She issued a statement on the 17th clarifying that the severance decision was based on operating losses and business tightening, and she did not know in advance that the employee was pregnant, and the other party did not inform her. Chen Aileen emphasized that severance is the result of multiple communications that cannot be improved, and respects employee privacy and does not disclose conversation records. She said that she had handed over the relevant information to a lawyer and was willing to cooperate with the competent authorities in the investigation, and called for an end to false accusations and the restoration of rational dialogue. News highlights: Korean cheerleading goddess Lee Do-wai recently went to Taetung to participate in a hot air balloon event, but was mistaken by local male people for "you look like Lee Do-wai," which made her cry and laugh and not introduce herself to prove her true identity. Lee Do-wai's attitude is close to the people, not only signing autographs as a souvenir, but also politely refusing to treat guests. She said that she visited Liuyi, Taetung for the first time, enjoyed interacting with locals and food, and experienced hot air balloon flights, spending 2 happy days. News highlights: South Korea's iconic music festival Golden Disc Awards ceremony will move to Taiwan for the first time on January 10, 2026, and be held at the Taipei Dome to celebrate its 40th anniversary. This is the first time that Taiwan has hosted this large-scale Korean music ceremony, symbolizing a new milestone in Taiwan-South Korea entertainment exchanges. The organizers announced that this year's edition will gather the strongest lineup of all time to create a luxurious stage, and at the same time launch a new brand visual design for the first time in 14 years, combining traditional gold and digital trends to show youthful vitality. The awards are fairly selected based on physical sales and digital data, and are highly valued by the industry. News highlights: the organizer Creative Mutt publicly apologized on the official IG on the 18th, announcing that the peripheral products will be changed to a pre-order system and cover the shipping costs, including overseas delivery. The organizer said that this move aims to make it more convenient and fair for all visitors to purchase products, and adjust the purchase process, and pre-ordered products will be delivered within 10 working days. The organizer sincerely thanks fans for their understanding and support, and future changes will be announced through official customer service. News highlights: when Jenny returned from London on China Airlines, she found that her designer coat and bag were stolen in her suitcase, so she called the police and complained to China Airlines, but was told that valuables should be carried with her, and China Airlines was not responsible. Jenny reluctantly revealed that the suitcase was labeled with a priority red strip, which ironically looked like a "please steal" sign. The British police have accepted the investigation. China Airlines has also launched a case. Jenny emphasized that she will persevere to the end, hoping to seek justice for herself, and netizens have cheered her on. News highlights: Typhoon Dinas hit Taiwan, causing serious damage to solar photovoltaic facilities in the south, and water-based photovoltaic panels were blown over and shattered by the wind, causing environmental concerns. Pegatron Chairman Tong Xixian said that the typhoon disaster is a stress test for solar energy facilities, reminding the industry that the development of green energy must be pragmatic and environmentally friendly. He pointed out that if solar energy is to meet the electricity consumption of Taiwan, it needs to exceed 10 Taipei City, with limited land and a lifespan of about 20 years. News highlights: a female netizen in the UK found that her pupils suddenly dilated and darkened, although there was no obvious discomfort but occasional headaches, and posted a request for help from netizens. Several people with medical backgrounds warned her that she might have neurological problems and recommended urgent medical attention. The woman finally called an ambulance to take her to the hospital, and the examination found that there was a blood clot in the brain compressing the nerves, accompanied by signs of stroke, and if delayed, it may be life-threatening. After first aid, there is no serious problem, but the future optometric reaction may be affected, and long-term medication is required. The woman thanked netizens for reminding her that she was fortunate to seek medical attention in time to save her life. News highlights: US President Trump was recently photographed with swollen legs and bruises on the back of his hands, raising health concerns. White House spokesman Lee Witt said that after a comprehensive examination, Trump was diagnosed with chronic venous insufficiency, a common and benign disease in the elderly, without blood clots or major organ abnormalities. Hand bruising is associated with frequent handshakes and aspirin use. The medical team emphasized that Trump is in good health and fit for the presidency. News highlights: a fatal car accident occurred on the morning of the 18th on Juru First Road, Sanmen District, Kaohsiung, where a 78-year-old rider surnamed K was run over by a large truck, and then ran over by a car behind him, dying on the spot. The police ruled out drunk driving, and the driver will be sent to the police for manslaughter. The accident once caused traffic congestion, and the detailed cause still needs to be investigated and clarified. News highlights: the latest medical research in Taiwan pointed out that some ingredients in slimming injections, such as ifpeglinotide and lixisenatide, may affect blood circulation in the ear, causing tinnitus, hearing loss, and even ear stroke. In particular, drugs derived from the saliva of American poisonous lizards may cause permanent hearing loss. The study has been published in an international journal, and doctors remind people with diabetes, obesity, smoking, drinking, or a history of hearing disease to be at high risk and should carefully evaluate and consult a professional doctor before use. News highlights: a Chinese man surnamed Yang was lured to Chiang Mai, Thailand by a former colleague on the grounds of jade business, and was drugged and kidnapped in a restaurant on July 8 and demanded a ransom of 300 baht. The main suspect fled to Cambodia, and the Thai police have issued a red notice and arrested 2 more accomplices. The case has raised concerns about the risk of transnational crime and human trafficking, and the Chinese consulate in Thailand has intervened to assist. News highlights: Premier Zhou Rongta expressed his opposition to the universal cash of 1 yuan on the 17th, because it will cause the government to borrow more than 100 billion yuan, emphasizing that the annual surplus should be used prudently to avoid leaving debts to future generations. He pointed out that the opposition party's additional expenditure was not coordinated with the political yuan, which is illegal and unconstitutional. Zhou Rongta further explained the financial data on Facebook, but netizens reacted fiercely, criticizing the government's unwillingness to return the excess tax amount to the people, which sparked heated discussions in the society. News highlights: former President Chen Shui-bian responded to the Kuomintang's accusation that Liking would declare martial law on the 18th, criticizing this as a fake issue with a short life, emphasizing that martial law requires the consent of the legislative yuan, and the DPP's minority rule cannot be implemented at all. He recalled that in 2008, he was also smeared by the Blue Camp and refused to hand over martial law to the regime, which was actually an election Olympics. The DPP criticized the KMT's move as a vote-urging operation, undermining democracy and misleading the people. News highlights: clashes broke out in the legislative yuan early on the morning of the 18th, and Lin Qiuchen of the People's Party lined up all night to arrange the propaganda in the chamber, and had a fierce dispute with the DPP legislators. The two sides pointed out to each other that they jumped the queue, illegally unzipped, and even tore up each other's posters on the spot, which was full of gunpowder. Wu Saiyao criticized the People's Party for not following the rules, while Lin Qiuchen pointed out that the DPP was domineering, and the two sides controlled each other's rudeness and disrupted order, causing chaos in the chamber. News highlights: a 40-year-old woman in Taichung neglected her vision in her left eye due to carrying family finances, which deteriorated to nearly blindness a year later. After surgical implantation of intraocular lenses, vision was restored to 1.0. Doctors remind that darkening of vision, deepening of myopia, aggravation of astigmatism, and decreased vision may be warning signs of cataracts, and long-term exposure to sunlight, indiscriminate use of eye drops, smoking and alcohol abuse and other bad habits will also increase the risk. ChatGPT. News highlights: Guo Jianfeng, a Chinese travel influencer and founder of Tito, unfortunately died suddenly during a self-driving trip in Tibet at the age of 41. He has been running a titanium alloy outdoor products brand for many years and also serves as a travel blogger, accumulating more than 8.6 followers. Guo started a solo self-driving trip into Tibet on July 3, and the last update stayed in front of the Potala Palace in Lhasa, but unexpectedly the news of his death came out on July 13. News highlights: the 2025 town resilience exercise started in the north yesterday with air defense drills, but 2 women got out of the car and posed for photos when the citizen viaduct was clear, causing public criticism. The police said that they have issued fines for violations, and according to the civil defense law, each person can be fined up to 15 yuan. In addition, a man trespassed into a controlled area during the exercise and was forcibly taken away by the police. The Beijing city government reminds the public to cooperate with the drill regulations and not to act in violation of regulations without authorization. News highlights: a man in Taichung, Ashan, sent a private selfie of his wife wearing transparent mesh pajamas to his female neighbor Ziyahua without his wife's consent, and invited multiple people to have sex. The Taichung District Court sentenced Ashan to 8 months in prison for the crime of obstructing secrecy, but the High Court rejected the appeal and upheld the original sentence. The court found that the photos were indeed distributed by Ashan, and that the sharing of mobile phones or the opening of discussions does not mean that private images can be arbitrarily disclosed, emphasizing respect for the privacy rights of spouses. News highlights: a fatal car accident occurred in Sanmen District, Kaohsiung City this morning, 18th, and a motorcyclist was caught under the car and died on the spot after colliding with a tractor. The accident occurred at the intersection of Juru First Road and Shuiyuan Road, and the 70-year-old tractor driver surnamed Lin was suspected of not keeping a safe distance and collided with a 78-year-old motorcyclist surnamed K. The police initially ruled out drunk driving, but Lin Nan was sent to the police for manslaughter because he did not maintain a distance between the cars, and the detailed cause was to be investigated by the traffic brigade. News highlights: the Financial Supervisory Commission approved Line Pay on the 17th to establish a specialized electronic payment institution, Line Pay Money, which is expected to start operating before July 17 next year. After the establishment of Line Pay Money, it will provide more complete recharge and transfer services, and the rights and interests of original Line Pay users will not be affected. The Financial Supervisory Commission will continue to pay attention to announcements and consumer complaints from both parties to protect user rights and interests. News highlights: Japanese actress Najiko Tono, 45 years old, died unexpectedly on July 3, and her relatives announced the news of her death through the official blog on the 17th, clarifying that it was not a suicide but an accident. The police found the body at his residence in Tokyo. DNA confirmed the identity, and the body had been dead for several days. Relatives said that Tono loves pets and takes special care of his cat Joe, which is currently being properly cared for by his family. The funeral will be held in a low-key manner, with no public time and place, and thank her fans and colleagues for their support, praising her perseverance and professionalism. News highlights: in response to online rumors that the Executive Yuan has determined not to issue 10,000 yuan in cash, Wu Saiyao, Secretary General of the Democratic Progressive Party, emphasized on the 18th that the Executive Yuan is still under discussion and has not yet decided whether to distribute it. The Legislative Yuan passed a special ordinance to increase the general cash budget, and the Executive Yuan assessed that it needed to borrow 101.4 billion, but President Zhou Rongta has not yet expressed his position. Wu Saiyao pointed out that universal cash will make the country borrow, and the current regulations have not yet been delivered to the Executive Yuan, and various plans are still being evaluated. She refuted the opposition party's claim that excessive financial resources are abundant, emphasizing that distributing cash may be illegal and unconstitutional, and the Executive Yuan will not be forced to make illegal decisions. News highlights: a female car owner in Dali, Taichung illegally parked side by side, and her car body exceeded the white line, but fortunately there was no accident. The woman appeared wearing a stroppy backless top, causing the driver who originally wanted to report change his mind and give up reporting. After the dashcam footage was exposed, it sparked heated discussions among netizens, who left messages ridiculing forgiveness as a virtue and discussing the widespread situation of violations. News highlights: the Legislative Yuan passed the third reading of the amendment to the criminal law on the 18th, adding Article 272 to 1, which is punishable by up to death or life imprisonment for abuse of children under the age of 7. This amendment increases the sentences for homicide and injury, and victims under the age of 7 who are abused to death will be severely punished. The vote was 59 votes in favor and no votes against. This bill originated from the case of a boy who was abused to death by a nanny, hoping to strengthen child protection and punish child abuse.